Fear. Fear is quite a thing. When you look at the human design body graph, what you get to see is that there are three areas of fears, three centers. We begin with the splenic center, and the splenic center has all of these primary fears, true fears, survival fears. The ajna center with its mental anxieties, the fears of the mind, and the deep nervousness of the emotional system. But here we're going to look at the spleen because the fears of the spleen are very, very deep within us. They are visceral fears. If you come into the world with an undefined splenic system, you're fundamentally insecure, and that insecurity is rooted in the potentials of the fears that are there. It's why those with an undefined spleen, that their not self-purpose in life is to hold on to things that aren't good for it. That is to just look for a way to get their spleen defined in order to feel good and not really take into account what they're actually taking into their life in terms of who's bringing that feel good. And when you look at the gates of the spleen, you're dealing with all of the basic fears that are there within us. The 18th gate, the fear of authority. And it's out of this fear of authority that we are ready, in a sense, to challenge authority. But it is a deep fear that is there. The 28th gate and the fear of death. And the very fear of death drives us towards a higher meaning in life, moves us to try to find a purpose, a reason for us to be here in such a terminal process. And the 32nd gate is the fear of failure. It's the fear of not being able to survive on the material plane and not being able to have the talent necessary to be able to maintain the tribe reproduction, to look after the future. The 50th gate, the fear of taking responsibility. That fear of taking responsibility that moves us away from the need to take care of those that are there in our lives. And how often those can be taken in with this fear, be taken in by others. And then there's the 57th gate, the fear of tomorrow. The fear of tomorrow. Like the 44th gate and the fear of the past, these are two deep fears within us. That fear of the past goes deep into our history, goes back into our genetic past. The very fear of survival for our species is rooted in that. And in the 57, that fear of tomorrow, that deep fear and insecurity about what will happen and can you cope? And finally, the 48th gate, the fear of inadequacy, of not being able to have the talent necessary, the depth necessary to be able to ensure a better life. See, everything about the fears of the splenic system are these basic fears that we have inherited from our mammalian past. Fears about what it means to be here alive in this plane and how fragile it is to be in these forms. And yet, please understand something. Whether your splenic system is defined or not, it is your strategy and authority that will keep you healthy. It does not mean by having an open spleen that you are unhealthier than someone with a defined spleen. The question of health is all rooted in decision-making and the nature of one's behavior on this plane. To operate correctly as yourself is what is the healthiest thing for you to do. But fear is what drives our intelligence to overcome inadequacy, to be prepared for tomorrow, to be able to understand that we can continue, to be able to take responsibility in this life. to be able to see quite clearly that one has what it takes to be able to survive, that there is a purpose, and that our way forward is always through challenge and correction, so that ultimately, we can survive on this plane. As a nine-centered being, you're not here to be concerned about your survival. You're here to operate according to a strategy and authority that assures you that you will be able to function correctly on this plane.